up to you to decide how strict you want to be. Want to be strict, you want to deal with it and use your pockets, Depending how cold it is, you might decide that I'll be strict when it's, if it's freezing cold, then I'll use the leniency. Otherwise, I'll try to be strict. You could, it's your choice how you want to go about it. Personally, I don't use gloves at all, even if it's freezing cold. But I have pockets, hands in my pockets. If I have to walk with my son, holding his hand, okay, so then my hand freezes. It's okay if it freezes in such a way, it's fine.
Is it different for men and women? I thought I heard that one.
I always hear that. I don't know where it comes from. I believe the difference is it could be women are more sensitive to colds. I don't know.
I heard because of culturally, women don't take their gloves, always wear gloves or something.
And women don't take their gloves off to shake hands.
In Shulchan Aruch it says the opinion that says you can't wear gloves because you might come to take it off. It doesn't say because you might come to shake someone's hand. It says because you might itch yourself. It says you might itch yourself. A person, let's say there's lice. In those days, things were more common to have lice, and they would have to itch their body. That's what it says. So it's nothing to do with shaking hands. So it could be, I don't know. I mean, but the bottom line is there is a leniency. If you want to use the leniency, then leniency is there. That's it. That's what it is. Again, if you want to be again, we said if you sew the gloves to the coat. I don't think it's something you want to do. I'm just saying that's another option if you want to really be strict and wear the gloves. So if the gloves are sewn to the coat, then for sure there's no issue. But I don't think it's something you want to do. Sew your gloves. It's like what kids have. The gloves are sewn to the coat, so you don't have to buy 10 pairs every winter. Okay, so we did last time. It worked out well. We could try it again. That you partner together and you review it. So those who were not here, you could partner with someone who was here. You want to team up. You want to take someone and review it together. You're doing okay, and you can do it together. And if you have any questions, you can ask me. Huh? We did last. Now up to 60.
Oh, the last, right here. So, oh yeah, that's what I was doing my chart. You realize you're married, you have to stop with the electric house. Or if you did stop. Okay, so, this is, it's a little bit more. Like if you laugh. No, with, no, if you, very, no, this is if you realize you're carrying, but you're in the middle of walking. The first rule is don't stop. Right. And then if you realize you have to stop, then yeah, go. If you realize you never stop, realize, if you realize oh, 5 minutes, so I can stop at the traffic light. Like that's one. Yeah, it's also what is it like you're still carrying, and what do you drop it, so basically, what do we do? So, if you did stop before, on your own, then they're not allowed to go on that. If you have stopped, don't go back to your house, you can't go back to your house, because basically. It's like one of those places, right? Oh, yeah, that was like I said, that was if you never stopped. And that's also not basically what I do. I said, we said you can walk the whole show, and look at that 5, and look at but we said you should put it down, you said in your shirt and you write it away while walking. We said back again, while you're handwriting, I didn't realize I was carrying I don't know, tissue. In my pocket, and I'm walking on Shabbos, and I realized I stopped drop it in the end of the way while you're walking. I guess I do now. Yeah. That's right. Yes. And because, let's say it was blood, it was blood, and you pick that. Or like, but let's say it's like, something you want, and then walk by somewhere, and they'll like, better get a shot it backwards on the ground.
Yeah, but when it's not bad, whether it's
Talks about, what is expensive.
So let's do it, I feel like going here.
Yeah, just one thing, 17C, we're not gonna deal with the 17C, it says, look at the end of the thing. Continuation to be one of its expensive work, we're not dealing with the works apart, but we didn't discuss it. And I'm still trying to figure it out myself, so, but it looks,
Without an example, if it's like, you know, walking, let's say I walk, I mean, that would be very expensive, a lot of drop it, and I go back to it, right?
You can't. So just drop in and that's all, but you could, like the drop it,
it's only already spent, you can have.
if you're wearing, I mean, I think that's like one.
That's right.
Usually, why it's not better to go back, even if you're wearing.
Like if you.
You're wearing it.
So, to drop down.
So,
Or to go,
one,
can say,
compared to a non-Jew, like while you're.
drop it out, don't carry, don't go down. If you have the stuff
Your
since you
home.
left your house, and you don't do it
So
done.
you put it in the tent, walk it out, you don't know when we're done. Well, let's say it isn't watching, you really don't wanna drop it.
Because what you should carry from one.
You know, like walking, if you pull it off,
When does
you're
that
not
actually
carrying it on.
itself?
And you're putting nowhere else.
Put it down. So if you're putting it down, you actually can put that on.
They don't
And
want
you
to
haven't found out.
Like over your head.
If you
Look
don't
at
have
that.
it, you walk, you can-
So you decide you have it in your lot.
We have
a house, it's like the big house where it rained all the time, it's less like eight, 10 minutes walk away, and there's no eight and then, so I would wear a towel. And then we don't have to walk out, you have to like, I would wear a towel, walk up and around, like,
Stop.
and then it's a strange, it's better to cover down, like every time you.
Then you always.
So I want your towel. But what about going up,
Right?
but
So-
this went all the way to the house,
So you just-
like the right
this doesn't allow you to.
Yeah, but I would advise it to me. Prefer- We're not asking you why you choose your own over someone else. Because you don't see a problem. That no-
It's not safe, I'm related.
You're on a job that's up there and
Carry things,
one
but it's
person
just
saying,
not-
well, then you could like
Throw it in.
just put it on.
You
put
don't-
it
you
on.
don't need to get- You should get accomplished.
I don't know.
You should get any
The
benefits
thing,
from an
we
act
talked
that
about it,
was-
we're like, I'm thinking iron desert, we passed it, nobody finished with the malaka on the.
We don't want this to accomplish that this item came from.
They just put it on the ground, it's very great, we're like, yeah, they buy it
So
all
the
the time.
preference is to get back to your original belief.
No.
If that's,
It's
if
not
if
that
not,
Because if he doesn't carry anything.
discuss.
Not.
Yeah, but no,
Yeah.
it doesn't have any.
Basically,
But
if you
no,
realize
I-
you already stopped, you drop it the right way, but it's a nice thing, you don't wanna do that. Give it to a non-union or if you change, walk up to the. Yeah, you, and then, as they were walking.
Yeah.
I had it.
Yeah,
It's like when we never done.
Maybe you very much.
yeah.
Yeah, you already read out why, already put it drop it.
Yeah.
So it's not like.
Let's say you look like, really don't like that.
Yeah.
You don't need it. Yeah.
Then that's when you would think.
Maybe you're honest, I guess that's what I'm walking. So then you're wearing.
If you're going to back.
And drop it, or like, hold on, drop it on the grass. Anyone, you can make sure you don't drop it.
Okay, we're like, she doesn't have any.
A front yard that long.
When we go to the back.
Was saying, I don't know, front yard, I feel, if the front yard is great, you don't make it. No, everybody doesn't make it. I don't know. I wrote down, walk to your house. Big ground, like, our house, like, here's one I found already on our body, and so they want to go upstairs. Our porch for sure, right, but it. Like one with the front yards in the house. Yeah, it's like they're already.
Beach now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Someone had driving down. It's not a big deal.
didn't wanna walk.
But
If you cover it, then it-
Throw it out.
you cover the bottom, that becomes a garment.
Yeah.
And regardless if it's actually protected or not, it still becomes a garment.
But if it's flush,
Suppose you
if it's
can
flush with the
say,
street, then level
what
of
it's doing.
If you're actually, I'm saying, that never be the right around.
Isn't it
Or
like
if
they
anything,
say,
level, you could come to write it out, throw it in there, the dog,
Like,
there's
there's
a
a-
box,
It's rain, not, like, what if you were to come to want to right now? Like, it's raining. You're not gonna towel and blanket around you. Like, I think you
Like,
feel
those are the, yeah,
like
your garden, flush with the street,
Like,
public.
if you spill something on the
Elevate
elevator, you use the
overhang
biggest towel
engine.
possible, so they can
Hard
so
drive
hot
that
drain that you
power.
can just squeeze it out.
So then you're better off
You're
with
not convinced,
throw
you're
it
not
out
gonna
and
really
answer.
close the
You can do that.
protection, and
Throw your gloves.
What about your raincoats that becomes that?
Yeah, but you can't realize you're trying to like. Either from private to public. Public to private.
People walk outside, they get protected.
You're going
So you never
In
limit
a
that.
public domain,
Yeah, you can't walk outside in the rain, so you might.
Stop it, and you
Well,
will
you
stop
should-
it.
I feel not great.
Yeah, but you have a point, though, right? But
That's why
it's not fair.
Yeah. No, no.
Well, if it's covering your head in the majority of the time.
Getting it?
Yeah. Almost lost the next one.
Okay, so the example is, so everybody is talking to me. So I like, have you know, there to cut the button, you're like, or something. But like if I know how, like, sometimes with tabs, like, they'll have extra buttons. So some phone, maybe just added that to there. The different type buttons. Like,
Like a week and a half later.
yeah, so I cut mine off right away because if Shabbos comes, I couldn't work. If you don't start with the buttons and you're like, if it, I have no emotion on that, then you don't have to do it. I'll feel a lot scary.
Yeah.
For me, it's so scary.
For sure.
I love it.
There were two.
At least it's like you're.
Rebecca and.
Binder, twist, or fold the garbage together.
Yeah.
When they're on your garden.
Yeah. Even though I do that all the time.
I usually,
Liz, not Shabbos anymore.
But thank you. What is so funny?
I'll show you a picture of it.
Okay.
So Rabbi.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes, you know, like sometimes I use them like safety ways to hold an outfit together to make it more sneeze, because sometimes, you know, things have weird cuts, right? So you're not allowed to have that, you're not allowed to walk with that on your arm.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, like.
Let's handle it.
No, I did that.
They went there, just see if we would take, yeah, like character, like later.
Is that the regular location you said? Yes. So now.
Yeah, yeah, okay. What you mean?
If it's serving garden, then that's. usually done. So it becomes part of the garden.
That's not so.
Okay.
New York, Boston.
Yes, okay.
Yes, on that. All the walls.
I just pulled it out. Right, right.
Yeah. Yeah, those are.
Yes.
One second.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, but that's kind of like.
Do you, do you maybe want to do it someone else, we should 2 and 2? Instead of 3 together?
We're finished.
You
Yeah,
all
if you were
finished?
good, we're good.
You finished everything?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
No,
Yeah.
we've done where I am, done good.
I thought that's where you
Oh,
were
you're doing
from.
it before, you want back.
Where do you think goes from?
Yeah, well, they both need, so they go to kind of, yeah, like nothing.
Okay,
yes.
so I think we're
Okay,
gonna,
yes.
I think we should do now the sheet together, because everyone is pretty much done. Okay, we have someone also on Zoom, so like this, she can also hear what's going on. Okay, we're gonna review. Okay, so we're gonna do now from 16, 17. I'll ask the question, if someone wants to give the answers and We'll take it from there. 16. If walking with toddler that stopped walking, taking a walk with a toddler, and the toddler decides that he's done. She needs a break, so she stops walking, sits down. What are the options? What are the So what's 1, 2, 3? So basically, 1, 2, 3 is actually it's an order, actually. It's an order of preference. That's really what it is. I didn't tell that. I should have mentioned that. So it's not just options, it's actually order of preference. What's the most preferred option? What's the next option? Okay. So you didn't get that, we'll get it now. So what is the most preferred option to help
Pick up the child while you're not moving.
hold the child while they're moving? Right, yeah. So that's always permitted. That's not like, oh, that's always permitted. If you're in one place, you can pick up the child and stand, hold the child, no problem. You're not doing anything. But what about in terms of helping the child to get to your destination?
Is the first one to pick him up and walk up to 6 feet and hand him off? That's the first preferred option. Give to a non-Jew.
Okay, so actually, the way I wrote it here, whatever, the 1 and 2. Okay, so the first, okay, here's the thing. There's 2 things that is 100%, which is, there's no issue, you're allowed. One of them is helping the child walk while one foot is on the ground. Okay, so this is the child, yeah? Child looks like this. Child is 2 feet, yeah? So you pick up 1 foot, go like this, pick up the other foot. In other words, you should have put my child there, would have shown you. You pick up, you pick up, and you can hold the hand, you can hold it by the shoulders, doesn't matter where you hold the child. You're holding the child, and doesn't usually work. No, practically, usually if they don't want to walk, they don't want to walk, but sometimes it could be the situation. And so as long as 1 foot is on the ground, even though you're moving them in the public domain, but because 1 foot stays on the ground, that's permitted. That was not prohibited.
If they put their feet, like their foot that's on the ground on your foot. And like want to do the thing where they're walking on your feet, like.
So again, is 1 foot on the ground?
No, okay.
So if both of their feet are on your feet, it doesn't work. 1 foot has to be on the ground. So that's totally permitted. Or another way which is totally permitted would be when you mentioned, what did you mention?
Picking him up or the 6 foot handle?
Picking up, you could always hold the child.
Okay,
Yeah.
so-
We're talking about want to move the child. So what do?
You pick him up and you walk up to 6 feet, then you hand him off to somebody else.
You walk less than
Oh,
6
less than
feet.
6 feet.
In other words, you could walk less than 6 feet and then pass them to someone else. And then that someone else could pass them back to you.
Yeah, and then when you get to the house.
Right, is everyone get that?
Yeah.
You're passing to a different person, yeah? And then when you get to the house, then the child has to walk in on its own.
I can carry something for 6 feet. And it's not carrying.
Up to 6 feet, yes. Yeah, but you cannot continue doing it on your own, which means you're not allowed to carry less than 6 feet and then stop or put it down and then pick it up and do it again. The only reason why it's allowed over here because you're doing it with someone else. You're passing it to a different person. So now because it's someone else, then it's 100% okay.
When you get to if the example where you hand off a child, when you get to the house,
Then there's no way to
they
bring the
have to
child.
go in by themselves.
They
You
must
can't
go.
hand it.
We can't hand it to anyone, right?
Okay.
Now, again, if the child is hysterical, there could be situations that we can be lenient. I mean, if there's no non-Jew, but usually it's not the case. Usually the child doesn't want to walk. You could get the child to take a few steps into the house. It's only a couple of steps. It's from here to there. It's not a big distance from outside to inside.
Yeah.
So usually that's not an issue. Okay, so that's option 1. The next option is, let's say that doesn't work, you don't have that option, you can't do that, and you're desperate. You're talking about now that you're desperate, so it's not like, oh, I don't have anyone else to pass the child to. What do I do now? So now we're going to talk about that you're desperate. You can't just sit there. It's cold and it's very difficult for you. Now you can ask a non-Jew to pick up the child and bring the child home. If it's, you don't have to be like desperate. Mamish is like so, but if it's very difficult, for the child to be there, then you can ask a non-Jew to carry the child. If you have a non-Jew that you trust will carry the child for you, you're allowed to do that. The next option, and again, this is also what, yeah. If it's necessary, again, if it's something that's you feel it's very difficult for you just to be sitting there for a long time, it's cold, or the child is crying, the child needs to eat, or whatever, the child is being stubborn, whatever. If you feel it's necessary, you don't have to, it doesn't have to be mamish like it's so serious, but if it's difficult, you could ask a non-Jew. The next option after a non-Jew, if you don't have a non-Jew, and I'm talking again, it's difficult for you to be out there. Then you could, you have that. What goes after asking a non-Jew? Anyone has that? To carry less than 6 feet. So you pick up the child, you walk, you carry, and down the child. Usually that's not allowed. Okay. Generally, we said you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to pass to someone else. But if you have no choice, mamish. Since now this, what I'm telling you now, it has to be a little more serious than just, it's not so comfortable, it's difficult. So I want to make that clear. I'm saying that's the next option. But see, when you're asking a non-Jew, it's much more lenient than doing yourself, even if you're not doing a regular act. But still, you're involved. This has to be mamish. It should only be done if it's really serious. Like it. I mean serious like life and death, then life and death for sure. We don't need to talk about it. But it has to be, this is not the regular leniency. It has to be mamish, a very serious situation. But you have to, if it's usually you should try to get a non-Jew to do it, or you get someone else. Usually if you have someone else, you can pass it to someone else and go from one person to the next. It can be the same two people, going back and forth, passing to the next. Okay, this clear? Okay, 17A. What if you realize you're carrying, and you haven't stopped since you left the house?
And put it down in an irregular way.
Yeah, everyone has that. You just keep on, don't stop. Just keep on walking, and go back to your house. Go back. Is it difference where you go back to your own house, someone else's house? Preferably, you should go back to your own house, own private domain.
Unless you have to stop to like unlock the door.
Right, very good. Very good. So now, if you want to get back to your own house, let's say your house is right off the street. That means when you get to your house, you have to open the door, and now you already stop in a public domain. The whole idea is that you should continue walking or walk back into the private domain. But over here, the door is locked, and you have to stop in the public domain to get in. If, let's say, your house is situated right off the public domain, sometimes you have to go up steps and you're on a porch, and then it's already a private domain. But if you have to stop, and if that's where your house is, then don't go back to the house, find another place, go to the show, find a house where there is a porch, you can go up the steps, and now you're ready in a private domain.
For the one, like for this example, it's to stop, like, could you hypothetically, let's say you have a roommate, and can your roommate just open the door so you can just like not have to stop, and you just go straight into the house? That's fine.
What's the question? What? If your roommate could open the door, what's the question?
So then you would have to usually stop to open the door, but if your roommate can open it, then it's fine.
Why not? As long as you're not stopping.
Okay.
What's
You
the difference?
didn't bring the example, so. I was
What's the
like,
difference who opens the door?
Yeah.
Yeah, you walk
Yeah.
in circles until you call out for her.
Yeah, what if you're walking with her, I was just talking.
Yeah. Okay. B, what if you did stop since you left? You get it? But
Yeah.
you're walking now. But since you left the house, you stopped for a red light, Now what do you do now?
Throw it down in an irregular way.
You throw it down irregular way, in a backhanded way. In other words, you over your shoulder like that, back your hand, you drop it. Okay,
Hypothetically walk all shopping.
right, yeah, right, okay,
Catch me.
good. C, C, in continuation to B, what if it's expensive? We're not discussing muktzah now, discussing no, if it's expensive, means you dropped it out of your hand, but you don't want to leave it there because you don't want anyone to steal it.
You watch it for the rest of the time.
So what do?
Stand by it, yeah.
First option is what? Stand by and watch it. You don't want to steal it, so just stand and watch it. I mean, sounds strange, but we have to go step by step. Hypothetically, maybe you could, maybe it's close to the end of Shabbos, maybe whatever. If that's like you just can't do that, it's not going to work. It's extremely difficult. Shulchan Aruch really says if you're afraid that someone's going to steal it if you're there and watching it. So then you could ask. So if it's a very difficult situation, it's going to be extremely difficult for you to be there. So then you could ask a non-Jew to bring it for you, carry it for you. And if you don't have a non-Jew and you cannot be there. So again, if you don't, so now the next option, if there's no non-Jew, is going to be what? Just like before. And you don't have anyone with you. Because if you have someone with you, you can always pass. This that we said that you could pass from one to the next less than 6 feet, that's always permitted. That's not like a leniency in this situation. Oh, it's difficult, it could be lenient. No, that's kosher. You can do it all the time. You can do it every Shabbos if that's permitted. It's just not practical. Why would someone do it? You can't bring him into the house. It's only in the public domain. You can go from one to the next. So if you have someone else, you should pass from one person to the next. And if you have that option, actually, then that's preferred over telling a non-Jew to do it, actually. The drawback with that option from passing from one to the next is then how do you get it into the house? But it might be that once it's next to your house, you're already okay. You'll be able to stand and watch it, hypothetically speaking. So it really depends. So it depends on the situation. Get it? It could be by then you will find a non-Jew. No, actually, I said the option, no, it's what's preferred? A non-Jew carrying the expensive item or you carrying with someone else less than 6 feet? It's best you do it yourself with another Jew less than 6 feet because that's 100% okay. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's preferable. Have an expensive item on the floor. Okay. So what's preferred? You pass it to someone else under less than 6 feet, or tell a non-Jew to do it. Pass it to someone else less than 6 feet because there's no transgression then. Telling a non-Jew is not the proper. That we don't start with that, right?
You were like, what if a non-Jew knows a lot of Jews and you're like, oh no, I have this thing, and they just realize without you directly asking?
It's pretty much the same idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not telling it's a not telling if a non-Jew does things on their own.
Like they just take it out
There
of
are
your-
situations where it works, where in this situation it's almost the same if they're doing it on their own. So if you have the option of passing to someone else, that's preferred option. But I'm just saying that that's not necessarily practical because you still have the problem how to get into the house. But there could be theoretically a situation where that's fine for whatever reason. Once it's next to your house, then you're sitting anyways there, and you have the kids there, and you're able to watch it. It could be that could resolve the issue just by passing to someone else. But if that option doesn't work, then you go to the option of telling a non-Jew to carry it. You get it?
But I thought when you bring it home, you could also like hand it off, so each person does like half, like no one does the full malacha of bringing it from public.
Okay, so actually, it's good you brought it up because I want to clarify that because we spoke about it and later I was thinking about it more, and I was thinking to myself, what about? Okay, so we're discussing now. There is no non-Jew and it's expensive. You don't want anyone to steal it. You're passing from one person to the next, less than 6 feet. Now, how do you get into the house? So, is there a way how to get into the house if it's a very expensive item? So, we discussed this two ways. One way is to throw it in a backhanded way to the house. The other way is to do it with someone else. You stick your hand inside, and they take it from your hand, so both are involved. So each one is doing part of the transgression, so it minimizes the transgression. What is preferred, to throw it in a backhanded way into the house, or do it with someone else? No. A back, anytime you're doing something with a shini in an unusual way, it's preferred over doing something in a regular way, even if it's a rabbinical transgression. So if it's an expensive item, let's say, and you pass it from one person to the next, now you got to get it to your house, and let's say it's not safe to be outside, let's say. So then, and there's no non-Jew, then you throw it in a backhanded way into the house. That's preferred over putting your hand inside and someone taking from your hand, because when you're doing something in an unusual way, that lightens the transgression, as opposed to you being involved in the transgression of carrying from one domain to another domain. You stick your hand inside, and someone takes from your hand. So yes, none of you completed the transgression of carrying. You did it together, but you're doing it in a regular way. So doing it in a backhanded way is a preferred way. Now, the reason why we mentioned that about doing it with someone else, because that was regarding Svarim. So that's why we spoke about the Svarim, and then I was thinking to myself, and then I realized with the Svarim, there's a story in the memoirs. They found themselves. We went through one of the classes. They found themselves carrying. By the way, that was the grandmother of Dal Rebbe. The story that we had, that they didn't know what to do. There was a bunch of men walking, and they realized they were carrying. Didn't know what to do, and there was a woman. Her name was Rachel, and she was the grandmother of Dal Rebbe, and she knew the halach was better than the men, and she told them what to do. So the Svarim, how do you get the Svarim in? The Svarim you can't throw. So they passed the Svarim from one person to the next, and then they transferred inside. Over there it says they transferred it to the courtyard of a non-Jew. Why non-Jew? It could be because it was closer, or it could be they now avoided this issue of doing it with someone else, because once they got to court of a non-Jew, could be they called out, they knocked on the door, whatever, he came out, and then the non-Jew went and brought it in for them. I assume, it doesn't say clear in the story, that's probably what happened. So it's better to do it through a non-Jew. But if you don't have a non-Jew and it's Svarim and you have to bring it inside, you can't leave it outside, so then you pass it, you give it to someone who takes it from you. Okay, is this clear? Okay. These are halachas that the average from Jew does not know. Telling you. Because these are things that when it comes up, people get all confused, and then they ask what to do, and then they forget, and it's not something it's not a day-to-day thing. So if it happens, it's like an emergency, so but it's good to know these halachas, because things come up, and one day the story might repeat itself, like in the memoirs. You'll be walking, and the men are not going to know what to do, and the women will know because they learned the halachas.
I have a question. We were saying just now about like throwing it into the house versus like handing it off. Like we're saying into the private domain. So like our dorm, for example, private domain you said starts at the stairs.
Yeah,
You have to throw it on the
I was thinking about it afterwards. I have to figure out exactly.
Okay.
Generally, my understanding is, I said the stairs says once it's above 40 and like 31 inches, right?
Mhm.
Once you get above 31 inches from the porch, for sure is a private domain.
Okay.
The stairs, I have to look at it again. There's no two set of steps, right?
No.
You walk in, first you walk inside, and then you start walking up the steps.
Yeah.
To the best of my knowledge, according to what I learned up to now, it comes out that once you get to the step that's above 31 inches from the ground, that becomes a private domain.
Okay, so like if we were doing athletically, we would throw it onto the porch from the bottom of the steps or something.
You're talking about an expensive item.
Right, yeah, I know, but.
It's not smart, an expensive
Not
item.
farm, yeah, expensive item.
Expensive
If it's
item,
farm,
like-
we have to pass it. Do you pass it while you're still moving also? No, you do it less than 6 feet, I got confused.
Okay, so actually,
Yeah.
when you pass it to someone else, the Alter Rebbe says you, it's just very interesting over there. Alter Rebbe says if you pass it, you stick your hand inside the private domain. You're standing in the public domain, put your hand in the private domain. Now, if you were to put it down, you would complete the act of carrying from public to private, because you're in the public. You put your hand inside and you put it down. To avoid that, instead of you putting it down and completing the act, you have someone else take it from you. But the Alter Rebbe says that the other person who takes it from you should take it from you while he's walking. Now, why does he say that? Really, if you stick your hand inside, right, and he takes it from you, so each one did part of the act. So what's the issue? But he says he should do it while he's walking. And the reason I believe is because we're concerned if he's not going to do it while he's walking, if by mistake I put it into his hand, then I completed the act. But if he takes it while he's walking, right? Stick my hand inside, and he takes it while he's walking. Even if I by mistake put it into his hand, but he's walking, so I did not complete the act. Because completing the act means I put it down in the private domain, or I put it into someone else's hand that's standing. If someone is walking, and I put something in his hand while he's walking, I did not complete the act because it didn't stop yet. So we want to make sure I don't complete the act. I stick my hand inside, I'm going to put it, he's going to take it from me. If by mistake I put it in his hand, I complete the act. So I stick my hand inside, and he takes it from me while he's walking. That's what Dr. Denver says. And that's like an extra caution, so he shouldn't complete the act. So again, an expensive item, the best thing is to throw it. You're saying it's going to get damaged.
Could we act?
It's going to be damaged, right? So, but you have to keep in mind also, it might be safe over there. If it's in front, practically speaking, in front of the dorm, and if it's already there, and someone could watch it, the best thing is someone should watch it. So on a practical note, a lot of groceries don't, right?
Yeah.
So they can take turns watching it. Theoretically. So I'm not saying for sure, it really depends. Every situation is different. It's not one,
Yeah.
I mean, not one size fits all. It depends on the situation, what's going on. It could be that you can avoid the whole issue and someone's going to be watching it. And it could be, and also at some point while you're watching it, you might be able to find a non-Jew that you trust, and you'll ask him to carry it in. So non-Jew is always preferred. So once you're ready closer to the house, chances are you could wait around for a non-Jew to carry it in. So it really depends on circumstances. Yeah.
There we go. I was gonna say, in the story of the altar Rebbe with the sefer, they said they dropped it off in a non-Jew's courtyard. I assume they can't just put it on the floor if it's a.
Right.
book.
So
They must have found a table in the courtyard or something. I don't know.
Right. So over there, if the story goes that it was passed in a courtyard of a non-Jew. Doesn't say clearly how they passed it. Either they had the non-Jew take it, or it could be one of the Jews stuck his hand inside and the non-Jew took it from him.
Okay.
And then they put it down somewhere. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. I imagine the courtyard just as like a backyard, an outdoor area.
Right. So they put him, it's probably told to put it down somewhere, not just to drop it on the floor.
Yeah, like, let's say someone is coming, holding their hand at the door, someone else is walking by, but it's a small space and they can't do like a walk by so easily. Can they walk in place while taking it?
Did they what?
Walk in place,
Walk in?
while standing in one place, just walk.
So you're saying you're carrying, you have to bring it back and you have to continue carrying, you have to continue walking without stopping,
No,
right?
what I'm saying is someone gets home, purchases it, they reach their hand and someone has to come by while walking to take it.
You're talking about the expensive item,
Yeah.
someone finds himself carrying the expensive item?
We were just talking about someone reaches their hand in and you said they have to keep walking and to take it.
The right way is that they should, even if they don't, it's also fine, but the more proper way is they should take it from your hand while they're walking.
But is walking in place considered walking? Like standing still and. If you're in a really tiny apartment, that might be the only option, but if it's not okay, then why bother?
It's not what it means walking. Walking means that you walk.
Okay.
Walking like this, they're walking, but it's only if the person doesn't do it, it also works out okay.